Let's talk about how we rethink our employee experience, because that is a key part of the leadership conversation, key part of the workplace conversation these days, because we are living through so much transformation. We have just gone through so much transformation with remote work, and we're about to go through this next wave, which is truly this concept of hybrid. So when you think about what has happened, over the last decade, we have been so focused on customer experience. It's dominated the conversation. Let's use data to deliver a more personalized experience for customers. Let's predict what they're going to need a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. Now what we're seeing is that pendulum swing on the other side. It's about applying the same methods, data-driven, practices, and applying that to the employee experience. How do we know, or how do we deliver a truly personalized nurture program for our employees? How do we connect them with learning paths and career opportunities that they're interested in? So we're applying that same methodology. We've also had this really interesting light bulb moment that connects us back to technology, which is during the pandemic, we panic bought. We bought all these kinds of technologies because we thought that it was going to save or solve our problems. What we realized is that they didn't. Is that the tools are just tools. Tools are commoditized. What drives value is what people do with the tools. It's what your team members do with the tools. So we've had that realization. But employees have also had their own realization. Now they're rethinking, is this the right job for me? Is this the right employer for me? Is this the right career, the right industry? They're rethinking everything. That's why we're seeing things like the Great Reshuffle and the Great Resignation. So one of the stats here that you're seeing is 40% of employees are thinking of leaving their employer today. 40%. Let's put that into context. 4 out of every 10 members on your team are thinking about leaving you. That is an alarming statistic, and that affects every single business in this room. So let's think about or look at how organizations what are they doing to actually evolve and respond to that? And so I want to take us over to Australia. I'm going to talk about ANZ Bank, multinational bank, employ 30,000 people. And they said, look, we've got to find a way to fill our candidate funnel, because our candidate recruitment process, right now, it's too long, and we're not seeing the talent diversity that we need to see if we want to be truly leaders. And so what they did is they built a data model of their highest performing employees. They looked at traits and attributes and performance indicators and skill sets, and they put this into a data model. And then they took the data model and they put it in a video game. And they said, you know what, instead of candidates sending us resumes, we're going to get them to play video games for 5 minutes so we can assess their gameplay, their strategy, and that will determine whether that they are suitable to move on in the interview process. Now, outside of it being a novel concept, asking people to play a game instead of submit a resume, I'll tell you what I think is powerful about this. The recruiting manager could not see the name, could not see the gender, could not see the ethnicity, could not see the education level. So what it does is it limits the amount of bias that is in that candidate recruitment process. So let's take a look at some of the impact where we saw that they cut the amount of time that they spent on screening candidates in half. So to put that into context, for an average recruiter, that's about 7 weeks of work. 7 weeks of work that went away. They had a near 100% completion rate on these games, because that was also a concern. Will people play these games or not? And they saw an 11-point increase in talent diversity. So that's one example of how companies are changing the candidate experience.